Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Mordechai live from America. I'm on the way to Eretz Yisrael, literally catching a flight in I have to about 45 minutes. I have 45 minutes to give the shir. So, Rabbi Sai, Be'ezra Hashem, Mamish B'siyad Shmaya, Bein Hazmanim is over. And this is the final shir of Bein Hazmanim. Next year, hopefully, Be'ezer Hashem is going to be live from the Beis Medrash Friday morning in Eretz Yisrael, or Thursday night for Hebrew. Tremendous Yad Shemaya that I was able to give the shiurim every shir, English, Hebrew. A few of them were late, mainly the Hebrew ones more than the English. A few of them, Rabbi Yedidia had to step in and give. So Yishkoch to Rabbi Yedidia, Yishkoch to Avremi Cohen, who is Meister Nefesh, to be on the other side and do all the tech stuff while Mark Ashkenazi is sitting Shiva. Even when he wasn't sitting Shiva, there was a few times where Mark couldn't do it, when Mark was in Eretz Yisrael and he was a guest by David Sharfman. And David Sharfman decided to do it early Shabbos. V'chulu, a bunch of times Avremi was on. So Yishkoch to Avremi, Yishkoch to Mark, Yishkoch to Dave Sharfman, Yishkoch to Ariel and Kobe and Shimmy for doing all the editing at crazy hours, different hours. Be'ezer Hashem, back in Eretz Yisrael, beginning next week, shiurim, better prepared, more time, less pressure. Today is a pressurized year. I remember when I had a similar situation running to the airport, and the famous Maisa, some of you remember it, some of you don't, weren't here part of this year. We got our brand new Tesla here. It was in Chicago, and I took the Tesla to Target, and it asked me, "Do you want to do an update?" I said, "Yeah, why not? Do an update." And all of a sudden, it says you can't drive the car for like 20 minutes or something, and I had to catch the flight. I had to get whatever it was. I had to leave the Tesla in the parking lot of Target. We made it a joke that. And then anybody wants a free Tesla, you just go to Target. I had to leave it there. Kitzer, we left from there straight to the airport. Similar situation, different places, but similar situation where running to the airport, running to catch a flight. So we're holding in the Samach Gimel Amud Beis. Oh, before we do that, I have to do the sponsors. The Masech is sponsored by David Salomon, dedicated memory of Avi Meir. First, you know what? Let's do one to be Yoitza. The only thing I'm showing for emails is fast track your way to the Siyum, to a Siyum, just 13 days. Mesechtes Hayriya starts September 3rd, 2025. Join dafyomi.com for free Gemara, v'chulu. The Masechta is sponsored by David Salomon, dedicated memory of Avi Meir, Reb Shmuel Baruch ben Reb Chaim Tzvi Doiv Zechron Levracha. Anonymous, Hatzlacha Baruch Nisav Gashmis, L'Schus Achenu Bnei Yisrael. May our learning be a shield of protection and source of unity and blessing for Am Yisrael. Joel Gedalius, lineage, my father, Jack Gedalius. Monthly sponsors, TCS Israel, powered by Talk and Save. Anonymous, Refuah Shlema, Sarah Badmor Taram, and Shira Bat Sarah. Weekly sponsors, Dr. Avram Epstein and his wife, Rivka, Refuah Shlema for Shoshana Bas Razel. Kinnovations LLC, Lilu Nishmas, Reb Chaim ben Reb Elazar, Reb Ashkenazi. We hope you and your family have a nechama. Eli Chaya Kalmo, Yisrael and Tila. Yitzi Hollander, in honor of our new granddaughter Yakira. Daily sponsors, Yaakov Chaim Pilchik, Lilu Nishmas, Reb Chaim ben Reb Elazar, Uleschus Rivka Yehudis Bas Yava Chayil, Ziv Hagun Bekoroiv Mamish. Amen. I want to be inspired to that bracha as well. Yecheskel Goldberg, Refuah Shlema Adino Bas Gittel Henna, and Yitzchok Zev Ben Adino, both having surgery today. I think his name is, what do they call him? Chatzkel. Yeah. Oh. No, Yecheskel is. But anyways, whoever's having surgery should have chizuk. I know it's rough, going through a rough time. Have a lot of chizuk. Kramerman family for Rav Ruvain ben Ephraim Fischel, everybody's Zaidi, Rabbi Bleich, Nifter yesterday. Wow, Rabbi Bleich, the Neshama should have an Aliyah. In honor of our dear brother, Rabbi Chanan Pressman, who so selflessly and devotedly said Kaddish for our father, Rabbi Yaakov Shlomo ben Rabbi Yechiel, whose Yortzai was yesterday, Chavav Menachemov, may Hashem bench you with all things good. Love your sisters. Love from me as well, Rebbe Chanan. Dailam loves Rebbe Chanan Pressman. MDY Art, the new and improved art. You'll see some new and improved art today. Rabbi said, jump on the bandwagon, be a sponsor for this art, whose Mizake Klai Yisrael gives cheshik and gishmak and Torah for Klai Yisrael. Today, the monthly sponsors, 3 monthlies. Refuah Shlema for Yehonatan Eitam ben Besheva Bracha. Refuah Shlema Mordechai ben Esther. Refuah Hayelet Daniel Zev ben Ayelet Esther. Rabbi Sai. Yesterday we got to the bottom of Samach Gimel Amud Beis. Let's do a little bit of a review of a story that happened where Yosef, Rav Nachman, V'Ula, 7 lines from the bottom, we have 4 people sitting together. Rav Nachman, Ula, Vavimi bar Papiv, Yosef, Reb Chia, bar Ami, Gabayu, and they're sitting in front of Reb Chia. The Yasvi v'kom boilu, and they ask many questions. We're going to see 3 of them today. Taisa says this was a continuation of the Mesechus Ksubas. There was other questions. Question number 1, very, very interesting questions. Schori lishbar beyayin nesach mau, as you saw yesterday. Remy, it's working, the button thing. He hired a guy to break his yayin nesach barrels. Why would a guy have yayin nesach barrels he wants to break? A kasha v'maisa. They caught him. They're this. It has salmonella. I don't know. Whatever the reason is, but it's yayin nesach. So what's the shaila? The shaila is delay. Interesting question. On the one hand, he's breaking yayin nesach, he's getting rid of a bad thing in this world. On the other hand, he wants more yayin nesach. This Jew, he's getting paid by the barrel, he's getting paid by the hour. The more he breaks, the more money he makes. So you roitze b'kiyumai. So this is the question that we're going to be dealing with a little bit today. This idea of roitze b'kiyumai. We know that wanting Avodah Zarah to exist is bad and problematic, and it causes isurim. I want the Avodah Zarah to exist. On the other hand, I'm destroying Avodah Zarah. So can I profit from it or not? Or perhaps, and this is also something we're going to be discussing, this concept, I'm getting rid of the bad in this world. Where else do we see this? It's a great thing what he's doing. He's getting rid of bad in this world. Hashem loves it. Take money for it. I have a very similar situation. You're sorry, this is climb. Let's just show climb for a second. Climb is I have a vineyard, and I put in grain, or according to others even other vegetables, and they grow right up against the. It has to be close by, right with the vines, right with the kerem, with the vineyard. This climb, beautiful picture. Klei kerem. I'm permitted. Sorry, it's also for me to help the guy produce climb. Aval oikri mimoy. If the guy wants to get rid of it, that's limu'ute tifla, to get rid of the bad. You're allowed to kidei limu'ute satifla. So even though this Jew wants more climb, the more climb there is, the more acres there are, the better it is for the Jew, because he's making more money. Very similar to the yayin nesach. He's roitze b'kiyuma, he wants more, but since he's getting rid of it, it's mutter. Says the Gemara, Savru Amani Rebbe Kiva. The Gemara initially thought that this is the shita of Rebbe Kiva. The Omar Hamekayim B'Klein, we have a machlokes in Klein. Is it also to help out the Klein once it's there? Is it also to help out, or the Isser is planting it and working with it? Homani Rebbe Kiva, the Omar Hamekayim B'Klein, like if even you put up a fence, that's also putting up a fence so animals, rabbits don't come in and destroy the crop. Awesome. The Sanya. Hamenakish, we have a beautiful picture. Hamenakish v'amechape b'klayim loika. If you weed out the weeds from the klayim, here, something like so. Well, this is not really klayim. This is I don't see the climb here. You're taking out weeds from, but here, I have a better picture. Right over here. Check this out. It's beautiful. First of all, let's look at the picture. Just the art, Shabai, is very good for the eyes. We have here, I see, as we're talking, I see Yoshi making changes. That Rebbe Kiva just popped up there. That was Yoshi. You see the guy holding onto the fence? That's Shitas Rebbe Kiva. He says you're not allowed to even put up a fence. You have Menakish, the guy in the middle, taking out weeds from within the wheat. And on the bottom left, you have somebody that is putting dirt over the seeds. Hamanakish weeding. Vamachapa is covering over the seeds. Let's see how it looks in motion. No motion. I thought there was. Here we go. he gets Malchus. Geschmack. Let's see. Rebbe, do me a favor. Just tell Kobe that in this chart there's movement, because in the Hebrew share there was no movement. It came later. Rebbe Kiva Omer, even putting up a fence. By time of the Rebbe Kiva, Omar Kro, Sotcholi Sizra Klaim. In the pasuk it says, "Do not plant klaim." I would think it's only planting. And if I want to upkeep it, how do I know that that's also midiraisa? Tamad loymar loy kilayim. Different gersois here. Let me just show you the basic pasuk here. Interesting pasuk, and the Gemara takes it a little bit out of order in order to make this drasha, because what the Gemara is saying is that the Satcha L'Sizra Klaim is not written properly. It should have said L'Sizra Satcha Klaim. Why does it say Satcha L'Sizra? So for that I learned Klaim Satcha Loi. In other words, I'm learning Loi Klaim. Not only can you not plant the Klaim, but you're also to upkeep the Klaim. But if I want to get rid of Klaim, sorry, that's 100% mutter. Says Gemara, so you think it goes according to Rebbe Kiva? Loi, Hamani Rabbanani. Rabbanan who say that it's mutter to put up a fence, but in terms of Yain Nesach, they're going to say it's aser. The Yain Nesach is worse, it's different. So ask the Gemara, Irabana Ma'iri Oikrim, then why the top of the psalm, the word Aval Oikrim Imoy, then you're permitted to remove Kalayim? It's not true. You're allowed to even put up a fence according to Chacham. Says Gemara, we're talking about an interesting case. It's not so interesting. It happens all the time. Your next door neighbor, your goyish neighbor says, "Hey, Eli, could you help me out for 5 minutes? I need somebody to push while I do this." He's oiker the client. He says, "Sure, why not? I'm not getting paid for it. I'm helping him out." Oh, the Rabbi Yehuda says the Omar litin le matnas chinom. Also, if you recall, there was 3 things that Rabbi Yehuda learns from the pasuk. You're not allowed to give him chanoya. You're not allowed to sell him karka in Eretz Yisrael. You're not allowed to give them a free gift, and you're not allowed to give them a compliment. Depending if they work for you and you gain from it, etc., different halachas. But since Rabbi says you're not allowed to give him a free gift, so I'm not allowed to work in his field for free. But because it's to be oiker, the Avodah Zarah, it's to get rid of it, to get rid of the claim, it's mutter. Says Gemara, but listen, the concept that we learned from Rabbi Yehuda, we could apply to our sugi as well, and there's nothing you can do to argue in this. What's the concept? Mid Rabbi Yehuda nishma Rabbi Kiva. Let's learn the concept. That what? Lavo Rabbi Yehuda also leading them at the schinam. Rabbi Yehuda says it's a very big problem. The Isidore Raisa loy sechane to give a gift to the idol worshiper. So how do I give him a gift by helping him out in his field? Because I'm getting rid of klaim, that's mutter. If so, to Rebbe Kiva also. You have a different problem. Your problem is not the gift. Your problem is klaim itself. That putting up a fence is awesome. But to get rid of the klaim, it's mutter. There. So we learned the idea from Rebbe Yehuda. Even though he says that putting up a fence by klaim is also, let's go back to that picture because I love it so much. Without the motion, just the picture. Here we go. Oh, the guy with the orange beard, the gingy, he's being Mekayim Klayim. So therefore, to get rid of the client would be mutter top of the page. On this, we have no argument. I can't argue. I can't fight it. The logic is solid. Those four people, Rav Nachman, Ulo, Avimi, and Reb Chia, Hodi Yasvim Boilu, they're still sitting and they ask another question. What's the halacha regarding money that was acquired by selling Avodah Zarah? The guy decided this God of his is not worth it. He's not helping me much. I need to raise money. I need to buy a flat screen TV. Let me get rid of my Avodah Zarah. See how silly it sounds. I have this God that helps me, but for a flat screen TV, for a new car, I'm going to sell it. That's how much I love my Avodah Zarah. So he brings in cash. He gets $1,000 for his golden Avodah Zarah. Now, that cash, could you, the Jew, benefit from? Does the Isra of the Avodah Zarah permeate? Is that a word even? Does it go into the cash? Does it grab the cash? Is it toifes the cash? Does the Isra transfer itself from the Avodah Zarah into the cash, and therefore have problems later on? Rav Nachman, one of the four that is sitting there, as like he answered before, I would say logically it's mutter. Why? Because there were the few goyim came to Rabbi Avua, they wanted to be Megayer. What I want you to do is, before you become a ger, before you become gerim, I want you to sell everything you have. Anything that's problematic, sell, and now you'll have cash, and it'll be pure cash. And when you become Yidden, you'll be able to use that cash. So you see from here, says Rav Nachman, that cash that you get for selling an Avodah Zarah is mutter. We have, from our brand new artist, Shlomo, we have a very nice piece that he did here. Liked it a lot. Check it out. It has a lot of chachma to it too. Go sell everything you have. Uh-oh. Why did it stop?
זילו, זבינו, כל מדי יתלכו, ויתו, התגיירו. בסדר.
That's the Avodah Zarah he has. Now they're trying to do a bris milah. Those guys look like typical yeshiva guys. Now he's walking up MDY. I don't know where he got this footage from.
הגמרא בעבודה זרה מספרת שגוי הגיע לפני רבה ואמר לו, הגבוי, אני רוצה להתגייר.
Oh, I'm laughing. It's so typical. The guy becomes a ger and the next day he's already giving a shir. Listen, anybody could do it. A little hard work, you can do it. Akopan, very good. This new guy Shlomo is excellent. Why? Because obviously he holds that once you sell it, the cash is mutter. Says the Gemara, no, don't bring me a raya from a ger, from a convert. The kiven the daite ligayure, since he has a mind to think about it. Why in the world does this guy want to become a ger? Because he doesn't believe in Avodah Zarah. He believes there's only one Rebbeinu Shalom, and I want to become all the mitzvahs. And then he takes a look and he sees on a shelf Avodah Zarah. He says, I'm going to be vatalit. I'm going to cut off its ear and let's go. And Memela, that's why it's mutter for him to benefit from the money, because it was already Avodah Zarah that was bottled. Ella, I'll bring you another raya mahacha from here. Yisrael shoyanosh a guy owed a Jew 100. So in order to raise money, the guy's a nice guy. He doesn't have the minhag that you don't have to pay. He pays off his chayv. So he goes and he sells his Avodah Zarah and he gives the Jew cash. Is that mutter? It says mufurish. That's our question right here. He sold the Yain Nesach and he gave him the money. Mutter. That's it. End of story. Here we have a great raya that if you sell Avodah Zarah, the cash is mutter to give to a Jew. One more halacha. If he tells the Jew specifically, I'm going to the market to sell my Avodah Zarah, have a little patience and I'll give you the money, then it's also. I'm going to the market to sell my yayin nesach, and then I'll bring you cash, also. And the Gemara explains why. The reason is, as we discussed earlier, when a Jew wants the Avodah Zarah to exist, then it's also to benefit from it. So over here, the Jew wants this Avodah Zarah to exist. Why? Because the more it exists, the longer it exists. If it breaks, it gets lost, the Jew's not going to have any money. The guy won't be able to sell it and won't bring back the money. So the Jew wants Avodah Zarah to be. I was just thinking, even though it's not the right place here, but there's a lot of Afghanot and everything. So I want to tell you, just in terms of there are two types of people that go to demonstrations. There are people that are serious people. They don't want this Avera to happen. They don't want this. They don't want that. I'm talking about more like in the Chil Shabbos thing. What is that? Oh. And then you have something like this. Oh, great. Put it on for a second. Eisenbach, Hafakat Afganot. There are people that they love Afganot. They love the Isser to exist because they make more money every time they get paid. The famous Bardak. That beard is a little fake.
הזאת זה משהו רציני. זה של הלקוח מאמריקה, סטארטמר שיושב טוב טוב. אני צריך שכל אחד ואחד מכם ניתן את הנשומה בהפגונה הזאת. אנחנו נחסום צירים, נחסום על הגר, רבו איתי, טוסטוס לא יעבור. טוסטוס לא יעבור.
טוב, טוב, this is the joke thing. But in Tachlis, it's emes. There are people that like the action, not even the money. They want action. So that's Roitzibik Yumai. Hey, listen, he's a Yerushalayim and everything, but deep down he wants the bad to exist so that he can go be mafkin. It's no different than all these in the universities in America where they get paid to do whatever they do, and there's a lot of money involved over there. So the Gemara also, but if a guy wants this Avodah Zarah to just exist so they can get paid, that's also. But now we learned in the Mishnah, Ger v'ovid gechavim, shiyorshu avim, ovid gechavim. You have a ger and his brother who's a guy. Two brothers. One became a ger, one is not a ger. And they inherited. Now what's important about an inheritance of a ger is that since a ger is considered as if he has a brand new life, he's ger, he's a brand new person, so he really shouldn't be getting anything from his father. But Chacham said, let him get. We'll see the svara a little later. Let him get from his father. But it's not that he inherited. Halachically, when you inherit, the moment the father dies, all the brothers inherit, and then later on they divide it. But over here, he didn't inherit and then divide. He's dividing, because if he inherited the Yerusha, then he inherited Avodah Zarah. Now he's doing a deal with his brother. You take the Avodah Zarah, and I take this. Shmaka Maisa. I might have said it once, but I think there's a lot to be learned from it. That Maisa Shahaya, and I know similar situations. So I can relate to this a lot, where a guy's father was nifter, and this guy was a big Talmid Chacham. He learned his whole life in Koilel and everything, and he was shocked to see that his name was missing from the tzava. In tzava, the father gave all the Yerusha to his three brothers that are working balabatim, and he was very insulted. He says, "What's pshat? Tal loved me like the other brothers. He encouraged me to learn." And now all of a sudden, I don't get a Yerusha. They don't even need it. I need it. They don't even need it. The brothers felt really bad for him, and they said, we'll give you a piece of ours. And he said, no. If Tad didn't want me to get, I'm not taking. But it hurt him. Deep down, it hurt him. He had a little kaped on his father even. And he went to Rebbe Mergolius, and Rebbe Mergolius said let me ask you something. Did your father ever help you when you married off your children? He says, yeah, gave my children apartments and he paid for the. He said, oh, and did he ever help you for the yontif? Yeah, no, more than yontif. On a monthly basis, I got from him a little stipend. If you do the cheshbon, he says, he gave you more money over the years than he gave your brothers now by the Yerusha. Maybe that's why he took you out. Oh, but one problem. How come he didn't mention it in Tzavah? He didn't mention Tzavah. He thought maybe you wouldn't understand. But logically, even logically, there's nothing to be upset about. He gave you more than he gave the brothers. I think it's a very important insight to remember. Think about what you do get, not what you didn't get. And tinus, because I know a lot of people have tinus on the parents. This in Yerusha, that in Yerusha. Okay, and parents have to be smart to give it divided equally, so there's no tinus afterwards. So says the Gemara, the ger tells his brother, the guy, you take the Avodah Zarah, you take the getchka, I take cash. You take the yainezach, vani peres. But once the ger made a kinyan in it, also you're not allowed to. Okay, so over here you see it's a kasha. Why? Because you see this ger wants the Avodah Zarah to exist. He wants his brother to take the Avodah Zarah because if his brother takes the Avodah Zarah, he'll get cash. If the Avodah Zarah gets stolen, for instance, he won't get the cash. He'll get half the cash. So he's right to b'kiyuma. So you see that you're allowed to benefit off a right to b'kiyuma. So Gemara says no. He doesn't care if it exists or not. It could even be destroyed. Which the Gemara is going to. You might have a question on this now. I hear that you have a question. Let's wait a second. The Gemara might address your question. That what we're talking about in Avodah Zarah, that it's so valuable. It's made out of, let's say, gold, and I take a piece and you take a piece. It doesn't really matter if it's broken to pieces. So maybe I don't care if it exists or not. I care that it exists, but I don't care that it exists in one piece. It doesn't have to be whole. So the Gemara says, oops. That's great if you're talking about Avodah Zarah, you don't care if it's broken up into pieces. But if yainezach is broken to pieces, it's worthless. A barrel is broken to pieces, a broken bottle of wine is worthless. Of course you want it to be whole. Says Gemara, no. Remember Cheres Hadrayani? Let's do it again. Beautiful stuff that Yoshi did. Cheres Hadrayani is that they came up with a trick that when they go, oh, no. Now I'm having an issue. They were going to war, so they couldn't carry barrels of wine. So what they did is they took very, very strong grapes and they made wine out of it. And they dunked pieces of shards of cheres, of earthenware, they dunked it in. And they became absorbed with wine. And then they would take those shards of earthenware and put it into water on the boats when they went out, or a war, they were able to drink wine. The water turned into wine. So maybe I don't care if it's broken pieces. As the Gemara, the obvious question. But tachlis, the guy, okay, he doesn't want it to be whole. But he wants the pieces to be there, because if the pieces are gone, if the gold is gone, or if the broken pieces of Cheres Hadrayani are gone, then he won't have anything. Elom Rapapa says, Rapapa, okay, let's talk about something else. There's a special takonas chachamim that a ger could inherit with his brother. The brother takes the Avodah Zarah, even though you're making a deal with Avodah Zarah, but don't bring a right to us. It's a special halacha by ger. Why? Gzeira shema yachzir likikuloi. I unfortunately know of a case. One of my wife's very good friends, she married a ger, and sometime like a year later, he decided he doesn't want to be a ger anymore. He went right back to where he was. And they had to get divorced, of course. Big problem. There is such thing, and I heard of other stories as well. But what I think is incredible over here, Chacham are saying, let him split the Yerusha, because he might go back to where he came from. So if you think about it, this guy, think about how much sacrifice a typical convert, ger, makes. He barely talks to his family. They think he's crazy or they hate him. He loses all his friends. he might lose his parnasa, he might lose his family. He has to start all over again, buy new clothing, start Aleph Beis, learn Aleph Beis. He's 40 years old, he's learning Aleph Beis like a 2-year-old. Everything, the sacrifice is unimaginable. It's very hard in Shidduchim, etc., etc., etc. But Chachamim said they understand human nature. If it's going to hurt his pocket, I said before parnasa, so forget that part. If it's going to hurt his pocket, he might go back to where he came from. When it comes to money, people do crazy stuff. Unbelievable. Another point that I think is very important, you have to remind me, we have in Ramah Bet Shemesh, we have a lot of people that make aliyah. Every other week, somebody says, and we start singing, V'shavu, Banim, V'shavu. And the Sefer HaChinuch says something, he goes, it's out of character for him to talk like this, and he says that since the Torah says, V'afta Sager, keeps on saying, you have to love the ger, therefore when a Jew comes from a far distance, from a different country, you have to love him and treat him, give him extra special treatment. So maybe we have to treat these, not maybe, we should, those who have koyach, treat him, invite him, talk to him, help him out. Parnasa, this, that. There's a special chiyuv of v'haftem sagir that applies to people that come from faraway countries. So tomorrow, I guess, when I come from a faraway country, treat me with a little bit dignity or whatever. Tani Namachi, yeah, top of Samach Daled on the base. Mamish, like we said, if the ger inherited, fine, he could divide it. But once he becomes a partner, also now he's benefiting from the actual Avodah Zarah. That's also. Let me just get the sponsor. Turning of the Daf, Adar Global MDY is enjoying the benefit of Meisters of Adar's MDY clients. Anonymous. I heard so many unbelievable stories. The chesed, running out to get more guests and more guests, talking, always doing chesed. And you see, by the way, I met Mark's brothers, such mamish idolo guys, normal, down to earth. Yeah, yeshivish, but down to earth, very down to earth. Anonymous says it's chus v'atzloch and ruchnis and gashmias. I say yeshivish, more yeshivish than Mark, but very, very down to earth. The beards, the payas, the hat, the wear. This I don't get. They sat there. The mother said they can't take a break for lunch. They're sitting there. Anybody wants to go be Menachem Ava, by the way, it's in Westgate in Lakewood. Well, now he might be already, he might be in Muncie. It was in Westgate, and they're sitting with the hats for 12 hours. I don't get that whole thing. Okay, one day I was by Hasidim also. They wear the hats. Mamish hard. Okay. Hodi Yasvi. Mamish, the taxi is coming soon. Gotta hurry up over here. Hodi Yasvi v'mkom boilu. So they asked another question. Ger Toishav Maushi Vatal Avodah Zarah. Boisa, you remember that a non-Jew could be Vatal Avodah Zarah. And now we're going to go into some of the halachas. When does he have to worship that Avodah Zarah? What if he's not such a real guy? What if he's a guy like nowadays? They don't worship Avodah Zarah. Can he be Vatal somebody else's Avodah Zarah? Can a Christian who doesn't do Avodah Zarah be Mevatel an Indian Avodah Zarah? It's a good shiloh. Ger Toishav. He himself doesn't do Avodah Zarah. What is a Ger Toishav? We'll describe. There's 3 shitas. Either he's Mekabel, the Sheva Mitzvah Noyach, Mekabel just Avodah Zarah, Mekabel not Hit Nevela. But does he have the right to be Mevatel? Remember the story, Bar Kapiri, I don't remember his name, he's walking, finds an Avodah Zarah, and he sees a kid, no good. He sees an adult that understands Avodah Zarah, says, be Mevatel it. The guy says no. He says, boom, gives him a smack in the face. Now be Mevatel it. Okay? It was a good bittul. A guy can Mevatel another Avodah Zarah. Now, what if the guy, here's another question. Guy worships Avodah Zarah A, can he be Mevatel a different type, Avodah Zarah B? Also going to be discussed. What's the question? The palach mevatel. A person who worships, he has the right to be mevatel. The loy palach mevatel. But a person that doesn't worship doesn't have the right to be mevatel. Just show you a picture that Yoshi did as litzanas, that there was the place was growing carrots, and he pulled out when he was pulling out the carrots. The climb, he pulled out gefilte fish with carrots. Okay. What is this? This, that. Okay. Gewaldig. So says the Gemara. The palach mevatel, perhaps if you don't worship, you don't have the right to mevatel. Dilma called the bar mine mevatel. I'm from the goyim. I'm from the oivdi kechavim. I'm from the idol worshippers. I can be mevatel. V'hai bar mine. At the end of the day, this ger toshev is idol worshipper. Omalu Rav Nachman. So once again, Rav Nachman stands up and says, "Pshat mistaber the palach mevatel, the palach lemevatel." It makes sense that if you're not from the worshippers, you don't believe in Avodah Zarah, you don't have the right to be mevatel. Beis ve'avakasha. Yisrael Shemotz Avodah Zarah b'shuk. A Jew finds a golden Avodah Zarah, actually basal yada, as long as it didn't come into his hand. You tell the guy mevatel, chop off an ear or nose, something. But once he acquires it, you don't have the right to ask the guy to be mevatel. Why? Because the halacha is, it says mefurish, that a guy can be mevatel Avodah Zarah even ubein shelo yoivda, even if he doesn't worship it. That could help us a lot. Here's a ger toishav who doesn't worship it, can be mevatel. Okay, so let's see. It says the Gemara, "My oivda, my shein oivda." What does it mean he doesn't worship it? You'll say that they're both talking about goyim, not a ger toishav. One guy and a second guy. Goy A worships Markulis. Goy B worships Par. So the guy that worships Par could annul the Markulis, and the guy that worships Markulis could be mevatel the Par. Isn't that the same exact case as we said before? Him and his friend? Elalav, so we have to say there's two cases there. Elalav oivda oivda gechavim, umay shein oivda. Elalav oivda oivda gechavim, umay shein oivda ger toishav. What does it mean? He worships it. No, it's referring to a guy. And what does it mean he doesn't worship it? It's talking about a ger toishav. A ger toishav doesn't do Avodah Zarah. Here, beautiful. Ushma mina, what do you see from here? Ger toishav and I'm mevatel. Not like Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said that a ger toishav cannot be mevatel because he doesn't worship it. Over here, l'chayra, it seems, since there's two cases, must be talking about a ger toishav. No, the two cases are not talking about a ger toishav. So why do you have two cases? The different things. Both cases are talking about a guy, not a ger toishav. And he asked me a question, but we already spoke about so we already said a case about him and his friend. What are you saying? A guy and a guy. The Reisha is talking about the simple case. They both worship the same type of Avodah Zarah. They both do Markulis. If I do Markulis, you do Markulis, I can be mevatel your Markulis. Seifa, Zel Par, Zel Markulis. But the Seifa is talking about, I worship one here. You should did something over here. First of all, what's Markulis? Real quickly, this is Markulis, but it has a little animation. Throws a rock at it. And the par. Yeah, fine. And here you see two goyim worshiping two different Avodah Zarahs. Nevertheless, each one could go and be mevatel the other person's Avodah Zarah. Great. So says the Gemara. I don't know where this is going. Button. Oh, let's see if it works now. No. I've read it. I try to put my button. It says click, but it doesn't just show me. It's not getting it off the screen. No. I want to show just Eli Stefansky. Not working. Button stopped working. Now, Meisvei. Question. Itchy. Eizu ger toishav. Kol shekibel olav b'fnei shloisha chaverim sheloi la'avoid avodah zarah. A ger toishav is a special mitzvah for us, la'achyoisai, to help him live, to help him out in life, if he's a ger toishav. But what is a ger toishav? Kol shekibel olav b'fnei shloisha chaverim sheloi la'avoid avodah zarah. If he accepts upon himself in front of three friends not to worship Avodah Zarah, Divrei Reb Meir. Shittas Reb Meir is no Avodah Zarah. He accepted upon himself the 7 mitzvahs of Noach, which are, to remember it easy, is you do the 3 chamurais, Avodah Zarah, Gila, Rais, Shvichas Damim. Then you have Aleph, Ever Menachai, Beis, Birkas Hashem, Gimel, meaning not to curse with Hashem's name. Gimel is Gezel, and Dalet is Dayanim or Dinim. Very fascinating Rambam. Listen to this. What if you have a nice American guy, upper class guy, who doesn't do any of these 7 mitzvahs? He's makabel. In other words, he's not over on these 7. He doesn't kill. No gila arais, hopefully. No Avodah Zarah, certainly no Avodah Zarah. No even a chai is going to eat a live animal. He doesn't curse in Hashem's name. He doesn't curse Hashem. He doesn't steal. He's a besser mensch. And he goes to court. Is he considered Mekayim Sheva Mitzvah B'nayach? I was shocked to see the Rambam. He says no. Why? If he does it because it makes logical sense to him, then it's not being Mekayim Sheva Mitzvah B'nayach. It's only when you say HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mitzvah me to do. Again, Yiddishkeit and mitzvahs is in the head. If you say HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mitzvah me to do this, that's why I do it. I don't kill because it makes sense to me. My logic. That's not mitzvahs b'nei noyach. That's your logic. So he calls him Chachameim. He's from the Chachamim. He understood it by himself. Not because the Rebbeinu Shalom mitzvah. Unbelievable. Fine. What do Acherim say? No. Everybody's mechuyev in 7. So what's a ger toishav? What's so special about him? Ger toishav is a ger oichel nevelas shekibel l'kayim kol mitzvahs amuris b'Torah chutz mitzvahs nevelas. He doesn't eat nevela. So we have 3 machlokes here. By the way, it says Remeir says he's makabel Avodah Zarah, and then it says Acherim say something else. Now here's the thing. Isn't Acherim Remeir? So we have a beautiful Tosfos here. Acherim oimrim al karcha Acherim docha lavayin Remeir. Doesn't make sense that Acherim is Remeir. Remeir is not going to argue on himself, so Remeir is Remeir. And Acherim, so all over Shas Acherim is Remeir. Once in a while, when they're both in the same sentence, it can't be Remeir. The Balgalei. Just want to point out that in Horius, we're going to see soon, Mamash in just a few weeks, we're going to be learning Horius, all the way at the end of the Horius, so it's more than a few weeks. It says that the reason why, first there's a Tosfos inside that says that whatever Remeir heard from Elisha ben Avuya, Elisha ben Avuya, who's known as Acher, came a Rasha. So anything he says from him, from his Rebbe, we say Acherim. And what he says by himself, we call his own name. But if you think that the reason why Remeir is called Acherim, that's not the reason. Because the Gemara in Horius says that all the way at the end of Horius, that Remeir and Rav Nachman were mezalzel and Shimmy ben Gamliel, and therefore they were punished that we don't call him by the name, we call him Acherim. The Rosh explains over there, why not Acher? Call Macher, not Acherim. What's the Lashon Ram? The Talmidim shouldn't ask. Akoponim, it says like this. Miyachadim nu alocha, miyachadim etzlo yayin. This ger toishav, so I just want to show you real quickly what we're going to be learning here in 10 seconds. Remember this video that we showed?
More than 2 decades ago, Jack Saunders began to question the core doctrinal teachings of Christianity. But as this ordained Baptist minister came to embrace the truth of the Torah and Jewish teachings, he elected not to become Jewish, but to embrace a Noahide lifestyle, adhering to the 7 commandments Judaism says are incumbent upon all of humanity.
So you got a prohibition against idolatry. You have a prohibition against blaspheming the name. Those are in the relationship to God himself. And then you can go with priorities. Prohibition against murder. There's a prohibition against theft, prohibition against sexual sins, and a prohibition against eating the limb of living animal, which is really an interesting one. And of course, eventually, it's really a negative that becomes a positive, and it's actually establishing courts of justice.
Yain of a ger toishav, the wine of a ger toishav. So, like any good machlekes, we have from kotza lekotza. We have the red, it's mamish osur, you can't even sell it, to all the way, the Amri law, they say it's completely mutter, you're allowed to even drink it, and they have the middle one. You cannot drink it, but you're allowed to sell it. So let's see. You're allowed to let the ger toishav watch your wine. Miyachdin is a lashon of just for a few moments. You step out for a minute, he can watch it. But you can't leave it by him for a long period of time, even though everybody's Jewish there. So what's the problem by giving him the wine? So let's see Rashi. Rashi says, Kol sho'ichel levelis, v'shar kol mitzvahs mekayim. Okay, now we go. Ein mafkidim etzel yayin bebeis, so you don't put wine in his house. L'zman meruah for a long time. Dikol lemechash la'chlufe b'yayin shaloi, because we're concerned he might switch it with his own wine. Shu aser. Ger Tosh's wine is aser. Continues Rashi al mechlam etzel yayin. Yisrael miniach b'chanuse ad sheyelach kedei mil. He puts it in for a short amount of time. But if the guy is watching it, you can't even leave it by him for a moment. The Haidi Kivin, Doi Polach, since he doesn't worship Avodah Zarah, this Ger Toishav, I'm not concerned he's going to touch it and he's going to be menasach it. Well, the Mago Evid Gechavim, and be concerned that maybe his Goyish friend will show up. I'm not concerned about the Kivin. The Ger Toishav doesn't have enough from it. He's not going to let him touch it. Says Rashi, and that maybe he'll switch it with his own wine, like we were concerned before. Since it's a very short time, we are not concerned. Says Gemara. I think I said this just in case not. And we're allowed to put by him wine, even if most of the people there are goyim. And as Rashi explained, we're not concerned that he's going to let the guy in, and we're not concerned for yichalufe. Says the Gemara, Shamne Kiyenoi. But the oil has the same halacha as wine. As the Gemara, Shamne Kiyenoi, so Kedaitach. We already learned that the Chacham vattel the Isra on Shamnom, their oil. But before that bittul, what do you mean it's just like wine? Wine is yain esach. It's the worst of the worst. Avodah Zarah. Not to drink their oil is chasnos, not to get close to them, but not an Isra of yain esach. Shemen miko havi yain esach. What shemen? The oil is going to be like yain esach? No. Elo yenoi kishamnoi. Meaning, and that's this halacha right over here. This is this shita that their wine is like the oil. That what? That just like oil, you're allowed to benefit. You're not allowed to drink it. So to the wine, that's the middle shita that it's osur b'shtia. You're not allowed to drink it, but you're allowed to benefit. You're allowed to sell it. Throwing it out halacha. A ger toshav is like a goy for everything else, and we're going to explain what that means. That's the red you see all the way on the side. Osur b'hana. It's like yain nesach. Va'amri, and that's the green. I only put in the word amri because that's what fit. Mutter b'shtia, it's completely mutter. Mikatza lekatza, from side to side, the opposites. So Gemara wants to bring a raya, but for everything else, he's a goy. What is it coming to tell us? That he has the right to. You ask me a question: can a ger toisha be mevatel avodah zarah? The answer is yes. He's like a goy. That's not what it comes to tell us. It's coming to tell us a completely different thing. That what? Let me see if he was able to do it. He wanted to do it? I guess not. That okay. What do you want to say? You want to say that there's halachas and eruv. That means in the time of the Gemara there was a chatzar. Meaning there's a bunch of houses and they opened up into a courtyard. To carry on Shabbos in that courtyard, the Rabbanan is also. You have to make it one rishus so that everybody can carry. Now, if there's an idol worshiper in the chatzar, he lives there, he ruins it. There's another person living there. It's not one. So the way to do it, you have to rent it from him. But if he's a Jew could just say, I'm giving it over. I'm being mevatel my rishus. It becomes one. It becomes problematic in our days where you have an eruv and there's non-Jews there or people that are Michal Shabbos. What do? In really, really makbid Yeruvim, it's a smaller community, you could go to each individual and rent his place from him. Some people have tricks. I heard of a trick. You tell a guy, listen, I can't put up an Israeli flag in my house. If I do, they'll throw my kids out of school, whatever. Can I hang my Israeli flag on your porch? And then you're cutting a little piece of the porch. But the kids are all sorts of, or you just be honest with them and say, listen, I want a piece of your property. Fine. The Indian of Eir is very interesting. By the way, I was just thinking about it now. We were in Utah, in Park City. Obviously, there's no Eruv. And my children, they struggled with it. You're so used to, that's one of the problems with the Eruv. You're so used to carrying everywhere, especially in Israel. You just go out, da-da-da. You don't realize that it's Issa Derais if there's no Eruv. And in a place like Utah, where a lot of places most places don't have an Eruv, all of a sudden, wow. Like, you don't realize you can't go, I was walking to somebody with children, he takes off his yarmulke, like, his hat. You gotta be careful. No Erev. So there's a organization in Israel. If you're listening to this in Israel, 054-848-3320 tells you exactly where there's an Erev, where there's not an Erev, how you can make an Erev, all sorts of things, tricks that you could do to make it. Let's say you're in a tzimmer, you could cut it off with your car, take a string, put it over here. There's a little, okay, fine. Let's go weiter because the taxi is going to be waiting soon. Uge desanya. Yisrael Mumer. Sorry. Oh. So we're talking about that a ger toishev is like a goy. Can he give over his rishus or not? Just like a goy cannot, so too a ger toishev cannot. Uge desanya. Yisrael Mumer. A Jew who has issues being shomer Shabbos. So if he's mishamer Shabbat b'shuk, if he in public he's respectful and he's not mechal Shabbos, mevat rishus, he could say, I am giving up my rishus to the Erev. Everything is great, like a regular Jew. Shem mishamer Shabbat b'shuk, ein mevat rishus. If he doesn't keep Shabbos in the marketplace, he doesn't have the right to do that. A Jew can give over his rishus, but by goy he cannot verbally say it or give it over. You have to rent it from him. Ketzad, and how do you do this? Verbally, my property is going to be yours. I am being mevatel my rishus. All you have to do is with your words. That's it, just verbally. You don't have to make any kinyan, not kinyan sudar, not kinyan, nothing, zero. No money necessary, just say it. But that's the chiddush here, that a ger toishav cannot do that. He can't say it. He has to rent out his property. Rabbi Isai, Be'ezer Hashem, I'm going to be back in Eretz Yisrael Friday morning and Thursday night in Hebrew. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.